here's a little something to think about the next time you're out in the lake, pitching and flipping your favorite piece of soft plastic, whether it's a tube or a crawdad, creature style bait, any of those. And here's the scenario. You're out there fishing, you're fishing a Texas style rig, traditional slip sinker, weedless hook, some type of plastic bait. You're flipping and pitching this around, cover, structure, whatever, and you make a pitch, you make a flip, you get bit, it goes thump, you set the hook. Perfect scenario for this type of fishing. That's the way I'd like it to happen all the time. But during the course of the day, things are going to change. The bass are going to change. They change hour to hour, day to day, week to week. They change constantly. So here's the scenario I'm talking about. You've gone maybe an hour now without getting a bite. Before, they were biting really, really good. Thumping it really hard, swimming off with it. There was no thought as to, whether you were getting bit or not. You could tell. But think of how many times this has happened to you. You go and you pitch your bait into a piece of cover or structure, and maybe you're starting to lose confidence or lose focus a little bit. And all of a sudden you go and pick up on your bait, and you've got one swimming away with it. How many times has that actually happened to you, that you've been out in the water, you've caught a fish, and you really never knew the fish was on? And that happens quite a bit. So you've really got to pay attention quite a bit. But more importantly, there's a reason why this happened. And that is because the bass have changed their position in the water column and their position around the cover. In the earlier portion of the day, when you could, pitch your bait in there, it would go thump and swim off, they were pretty close to the bottom. That is the perfect scenario for being able to fish, a tube or a crawdad, creature style bait, something, flipping and pitching in cover. That's the way you'd love it to happen all the time. But there's going to be times when they're going to shift, and they're going to get up off the bottom. They're going to kind of suspend around that cover, whether it's from boating pressure or fishing pressure, high skies, wind, whatever these environmental factors are that make the bass do that. They do change. So here's a simple little solution. When that happens, that's an indication to me that I need to change up a little bit. So the presentation that I used in the morning will not be the presentation that I'm going to use later in the day, or vice versa. Now this could happen in a variety of different times. There's no telling when it's going to happen, but if you notice that the bass are not biting your bait, or you're not feeling them until they're already on, you go to pick up your rod and they're swimming away, you can go to a little deal that we traditionally use for finesse fishing, and that is a drop shot. Now, a drop shot doesn't necessarily have to be for finesse fishing with a spinning rod and light line. They make drop shot weights now that are quite heavy. 1/2 ounce, 3/4 of an ounce, all the way up to 1 ounce, 1 1/4 ounces for penetrating heavy cover. Bigger line now, same style 3/0 or 4/0 worm hook that you use when you're flipping the bait on the bottom, but rigging the bait and the rig the same way, using the same type of bait, only I've beefed up all the components. Instead of using an 1/8 ounce weight, I'm going to use a 1/2 ounce weight or a 3/4 ounce weight or a 1 ounce weight. Instead of using a tiny little number 1 or number 2 hook, I'm going to use now a 3/0 or a 4/0 offset worm hook, rig weedless style, with the same crawdad or a tube style bait or whatever type of plastic you want. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pitch this rig into the cover, into the structure, and it's going to show the bass a little bit something that they hadn't seen before, and it's going to position the bait closer to where the bass actually is. So now, instead of not feeling anything at all when the bass bites, they're going to go back to thumping your bait. So just a slight modification in the type of rig that you fish. Instead of fishing a traditional Texas style, go to what I call a magnum drop shot weight when the fish start biting your bait really funny and you don't start to feel them. Try this tip, and you will be absolutely amazed how many fish you can catch fishing a magnum drop shot weight. I'm Mike DelVisco. I'll see you on the water. And for more bass fishing info, log on to FINS'nTALES.com or like them on Facebook. Fins and Tales, your hotspot for bass fishing stories, videos, people, places, events, how-tos, product reviews, and so much more.